and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the conversation. I am so excited because I get to talk to a friend, Christy Lingo, and we're going to be talking about the back to school, but specifically for the mompreneur who has ADHD. So I'm excited about this conversation. I'm excited to see my beautiful friend, Christy. How are you doing?
Oh, I am doing great. I'm so excited to talk about this topic. I feel like, for good reason, ADHD is super in the forefront of a lot of people's minds right now. And so I think that if you're a mom with ADHD, if you have a child with ADHD, like there's just a lot of these things as we go back to school that can seem very stressful. So I can't wait to talk about this with you.
So before we get into some of the strategies, what really made you kind of lean into this? Because you've always been a business coach and helping people with time management, and specifically for women who are running a business in life. But what about the ADHD mompreneur?
Yeah, so a lot of it is personal. I had my own ADHD diagnosis after my son was diagnosed, and this was something that I had suspected for several years. When I started as a professional organizer, I joined the Institute for Challenging Disorganization and started taking classes on ADHD because I personally had several clients that had ADHD that they had shared with me, and I didn't want to give them bad advice or advice that kind of went against what maybe their therapist or their coach might be telling them. And so it's something I had suspected, finally got my own diagnosis. And when I got the diagnosis, I was like, oh, I need to get a coach for myself. I would like to have a business coach. I was asking questions about being a mom with ADHD, having a child with ADHD, and I just wasn't finding, like, I was finding mom coaches for ADHD. I was finding ADHD coaches. I was finding business coaches, but really, when you're a business owner with ADHD that is also a mom, it's a very specific skill set that you have to juggle. And so what I found was I was joining all these coaching programs where I would feel very defeated because they were geared towards what we in the ADHD community and other communities like to call neurotypical, which is just, for lack of a better term, the normal business coaching. And the advice and the things that I was being taught were great, but my problem was in application and follow through and maybe even task initiation or finishing up these programs that I was buying. So I just kept buying and buying and buying and never finding what it was that I needed. And then when I got my ADHD diagnosis, it was this aha moment of, oh, I don't need to learn something new. I need somebody to hold my hand and help me follow through. And it's one of those old adages that if you can't find what you're looking for, create it, right? So that's kind of what I did is I created one-on-one coaching and group programs that do that. They're that support, accountability, handholder, cheerleader, all these kinds of things specifically for a mom who has ADHD, who is running a business and a household.
Wow. So what would be different with the morning routine and the back to school routine for a woman who is running a business but also has ADHD and possibly her child has it as well? What's different?
So a lot of times we wait till the very last minute. Us ADHDers love to thrive on the like stress that procrastination provides. And so we wait till that last minute. Maybe we're trying to go out and buy school supplies and the school supplies aren't there. Also, as somebody with ADHD, or if you have a child with ADHD, transitions tend to be hard. And it doesn't have to just be like that transition from waking up in the morning and going to school. It can be this whole sort of like, I've been sleeping in and I haven't had much structure to my day. And now I need to go back into this structured sort of routine. ADHD struggles. We struggle with task initiation. We struggle with follow through. We can struggle with changing gears. And so that's another thing. And then, with the beginning of the school year, we have so many new opportunities. Kids want to join activities or all these different things. And then we start to pile on what is already probably a very busy schedule because we like ADHDers love to overschedule. We love to say yes. We're people pleasers. And so, as we head into the school year, we've got all these new activities and the kids want to do this in band and they want to do drama club and they want to do soccer and they want to do all these different things. And so we fill our schedule up and then we kind of look at it and we say, well, when am I going to get all my like, when am I going to get the housework done? Or when am I going to work on my business? Those kinds of things. And that's where like this hyper focus that ADHDers struggle with comes in. It's like we can get so hyper focused on getting our kids acclimated to the new school year and setting up those routines and getting our calendar set that we neglect our business or we neglect our house. Or on the flip side, if we're so hyper focused on our business, we may not be putting the energy and effort that we need into helping our kids to transition into the school year. So it really is a juggling act that, takes a little bit of trial and error to figure out what works for you and your family.
So, Christy, for someone who is a mom in business, ADHD, and all of a sudden she says, okay, it's back to school season, and she's almost like breaking out in a sweat. She's
Mm-hmm.
getting overwhelmed. What are like some strategies she can use to hopefully help her with either morning routines or just like that transition back to school?
Yeah. So, first of all, ADHDers have a tendency to struggle with time. We call it time blindness, which means that we kind of lose track of things. Something we think we're going to take an hour on, and then 6 hours later, we look at the clock and we're like, oh, where did the day go? Uh, so, time exists for us in two places it equals now or not now, which translates to do it or put it off. And so, the sooner that you can make what is not now. So let's say your kids are going back to school mid-August or beginning of September and you need to buy school supplies. Something that I have done the last couple of years so that I'm not the mom that's at Kroger, which is a grocery store here, at 9 o'clock at night the day before school starts trying to buy what school supplies I can, is we have a school tax holiday. And so the last couple of years I've put that on my calendar, and what it does is it's several weeks before school starts, and they give you tax free on things like pencils and markers and all that stuff that you need to buy for school supplies. It makes not now, which is school is 6 weeks away, now. And so it takes that thing off my plate and can help to alleviate the stress. So if there's some way you can set a due date, you can make it important and make it happen now, because again, if it isn't supposed to happen right now, then we'll be like, well, I can put it off until it absolutely needs to happen. Find a way to make it now, and that's going to kind of alleviate some of that stress. And my other thing that really has been a game changer for my family is checklists. And this gets to your morning routine question, where it may seem, if you're always doing the same things over and over, it may seem like it's habitual, but there's going to be those times when, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I didn't have a checklist for the morning, and the kids would look at me and they're like, where are our lunches? And we're like walking out the door. School starts in like 15 minutes. There's no time to pack a lunch. I just have to throw some change at them and, so they can get some school lunch. So if you create a checklist, everything from, we have a get dressed checklist upstairs, which my 10-year-old doesn't quite need as much anymore, but it was very helpful to, like, he was forgetting things like changing his underwear and changing his socks. And that would stress me out because he would come downstairs and very clearly have the same socks on, because my kids never wear matching socks. I don't know what the deal is. I pair them up. They don't match them. I don't know what it is. But he would never have matching socks on, so I would know that he didn't have it. So creating that checklist means that he goes down it and says, okay, did I change my underwear? Did I change my socks? Did I do X, Y, and Z? We have an out the door checklist, which is, do you have your backpack? Do you have your instrument? Do you have your homework? Do you have, shoes, hats, gloves, all those things? And to a neurotypical person, it may seem like, well, duh, that's the stuff you have. But with ADHD, your brain always running 10,000 miles an hour, you have a tendency to kind of skip over details that are important. And so having those checklists, I mean, we have them for activities. So we know that we have our soccer ball and our shin guards, and we have them hanging by the front door so that as we walk out the door, we can be like, do I have it? Do I have it? Do I have it? And we do it every morning. Even my son, who's not ADHD, does it. Like, he stands there and he's make sure that he has everything that's on that list. It just becomes very helpful. And it's very comforting to an ADHD brain to have to not have a decision to make. And checklists mean that you don't have to make decisions because you've already decided these are the things that I need and I need to walk out the door with.
Wow. And it just makes so much sense because a lot of times you have so many things in your mind that you have to do, and it's really making it easy for them. But that takes me to my next question. What about you, Christy, or even strategies for the mom because she's running a business, but she's got ADHD, but then she's just making sure all the details are taken care of for her children and her family. So, how do you do it? Which will probably help some of the moms out there listening. Like, okay, all right, I do this for the kids. What about me?
Right. And that's the thing is that a lot of times, not always, obviously, because I spent several years as a professional organizer, but a lot of times people with ADHD struggle with organizing. And so this idea of how do you organize your day, how do you plan out your time and things like that can be a real struggle. And so for me, I have a very loose structure to my day. I found that being very rigid with time blocks, my brain was very resistant to that. And even though I knew it's what I should be doing, I would try to find a way to not have to do that. So I do a more loose schedule to my day where, like, the first 2 hours after I wake up, I take care of myself. That's when I'm doing my workout. It's when I'm doing my meditation. It's when I do my gratitude practice. I practice Duolingo, all of these kinds of things. Maybe I'll do, if the dishes are left over in the sink, or do some housework, because I find if I feed myself first, it really sets me up for the rest of the day. And also with ADHD, meditation and exercise are really great for helping your brain focus and get that dopamine flowing so that you can initiate tasks easier or follow through on a task that you have. So once I can kind of get that out of the way, and then I get my kids ready and off to school, I come home and then I have a loose structure to my day. Maybe I have a couple of coaching calls in the morning, and then I eat some lunch, and then I work on marketing or writing an email or something like that in the afternoon. And then I found, for me, it's really important, and this has been a struggle, is I try to stop working at 5 o'clock, because again, us ADHDers love to get into hyper focus. We have trouble transitioning, as we talked about earlier, into a new task. So really setting an end time, and then keeping the evenings so that I can go to my kids' activities, or that I can spend time with my husband, or we can spend time as a family, is really, really important. Everyone with ADHD is going to operate a little bit differently. Some people really like a rigid structure. Some people, like me, just kind of want a little bit more flexibility to their day. I think the biggest thing is going into the day with some sort of a plan. So I personally have just like a little notebook. It's just like a little spiral bound
Mm-hmm.
notebook that I rewrite my to-do list on every single day. So that's part of my morning routine. Is I look at what I did yesterday, I rewrite the things that are still on the list, and then I'll add anything that I want to add for that day. And so it gives me a framework for the day without being so tied into, from 11 to 12 I'm going to do this, and from 12 to 12:30 I'm going to do this. I find that I really resist against that.
And that's going to be so helpful for some people, who just really struggle with time management. Because I'm the same way. I can have a to-do list, but to be confined to 11 to 12, Janet, you got to do this. And then from 1 to 2, you have to do that. But I'm the same way, Chris. You see, I pulled out the old
Yep.
fashioned plan. I'm like,
Yep.
I
You're
love
like, don't tell me what to do, calendar.
So, and yeah, I really like the way you just like, yeah, just making sure you give to yourself first and then you can give to others. And also, that ending the day, because I still struggle with that. It's like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, Janet. You need to stop because
I
your
know.
brain still wants to do all this stuff. But you know what? You need to stop and you just need to chill. So
It
thank you so
really
much.
has made a huge impact on my relationship with my business and my relationship with my family, where it would be, 6 o'clock, and the kids would be coming in and they'd be like, what's for dinner? And I'd be like, I don't know. I need like 30 more minutes, and I had to set that hard, fast rule for myself and for my family. So it's important, and it's hard. And I will tell you, setting that boundary took a while. Like, if you try it today and it doesn't work, keep trying. Cause I'm saying it probably took me 2 to 3 years to really get good at setting those boundaries.
And I do understand, Christine, because now what I do is I have a little fun time. Once I set that boundary that I am going to end. I'll put my dinner on because I do my pre-prep meals, but then I'll dance. Like that's part of
Oh,
my
yeah.
routine. I'll dance from the kitchen to the dining room. And that really has changed just the way my evenings are now. Before it was like I'd be so exhausted. I just want to sit. But now it's like, hey, I got a little bit of energy. Let's see, who can I connect with? What can I do? So you're right.
Yep, you're getting that dopamine and those endorphins
Yeah.
flowing. It's gonna get you through and make you have a better evening. I love that.
Yeah, so that's my thing. Well, Chrissy, I could talk to you forever. You know that.
I
But
know. I love talking to you, Janet.
so how can people connect with you? Women connect with you.
Yeah, so I am on all the social media platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, the new one. You can find me at the ADHD Mompreneur. And if you would like, I also have a freebie that I give away to mom business owners with ADHD. It's 11 essential checklists for the ADHD Mompreneur, and you can print them off and use them as is, or you can you can go in and I've made them customizable. So if you have access to Canva, you can go in and make them more specific to what your needs are as a business owner. And you can pick those up if you go to bit.ly/checklists for ADHD mompreneurs.
Oh, and of course, I will have links to all of that so you can really take advantage of all the wonderful resources Christy has to offer. Well, Christy, thank you so much again. It is always a pleasure just to talk to you and see your beautiful face. I just love it.
Janet, I love talking to you. I will come back and chat anytime.